by the participant nations.
After the consideration of that ministerial statement, we did see quite a number of members of parliament making follow-up questions seeking clarity from the acting minister. The House did proceed to consider questions for oral answer, numbers 271 to 284, understanding order 74, and the House noted question for written answer, number 4, understanding order 75, and reply was accordingly recorded in the daily parliamentary debates.
And question for oral answer number 265, understanding order number 74, consideration resumed, and the question was considered. And question for oral answer number 270, standing order 74, was consideration was actually resumed, and the question was considered. The House adjourned accordingly yesterday at 18:30 hours. Time now to look at today's order paper.
We do have questions for oral answer and also have bills, and the report is expected to be considered on the floor of the House. And let's quickly look at the government bills that are yet to be considered on the floor of the House. The Minister of Justice is expected to present the Zambia Institute of Advanced Legal Education Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 4 of 2024, and this bill seeks to amend the Zambia Institute of Advanced Legal Education Act.
The Minister of Local Government and Rural Development will present the Matrimonial Causes Bill, National Assembly Bill number 5 of 2024, which seeks to amend the Matrimonial Causes Act 2007.
The Minister of Lands and Natural Resources is expected to present a bill entitled the Lands Tribunal Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 6 of 2024, and this bill seeks to amend the Lands Tribunal Act of 2010.
And the last bill presented by the Minister of Education, that's the Zambia Qualifications Authority Bill, National Assembly Bill number 7 of 2024, which seeks to continue the existence of the Zambia Qualifications Authority and redefine its functions. So those are the bills that will be presented to the House this afternoon and probably part of the evening.
Shortly be able to see the Honourable Madam Speaker's procession making way to the chamber. That will signify the commencement of today's business. But let's also look at some of the questions that are expected to be considered on the floor of the House. And this is understanding order 74 and question 286 will come from Mr. Omunyima Nalolo, Member of Parliament, directing his question to the Minister of Finance and National Planning. The member would like to find out whether the refusal by the bondholders to restructure Zambia's debt will not adversely affect the economy, and how this development will affect funding for 2024 national budget as well as the country's credit ratings.
Just now we take you to the chamber for live parliamentary proceedings. Good afternoon.
Honorable members of Parliament, Madam Speaker.
And the sing of Zambia, proud and free, land of wealth and joy in unity, victors in the struggle for the right. We want freedom's fight, oh, one, strong and free. Africa is our own motherland, passion with and blessed by God's to blend. Let us all our people join as one, brothers under the sun, oh, one, strong and free. One land and one nation is our cry, dignity and peace in Zambia's sky. Like a noble eagle in its flight, Zambia, praise to thee, oh, one, strong and to Kwesi, bless our great Zambia, 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 remain we stand under the flag of our land, Zambia, rest to thee, O one, strong and free.
Prayer. Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to consider with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important responsibilities in this land. Let your blessing descend upon us here in Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation, in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country, and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen. Honorable members, I have one announcement and one ruling. The announcement is that, honorable members, I wish to recognize the presence in the public gallery of another group of grade 7 pupils from Rodspark School in Lusaka district. On behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, I welcome our visitors in our midst. Thank you very much. You may take your seats. This is the ruling on a point of order raised on Wednesday, 21st February 2024 by Honorable Jijing Kombo, MP, Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, on whether the House was in order to debate the motion to increase the quantity of farming inputs from farmers under the Farmer Input Support Program, moved by Mr. J.E. Banda, Member of Parliament for Petauke Central Constituency, when the matter had already been considered and agreed upon by the House in the current session. Honorable members, the House will recall that on Wednesday, 21st February 2024, when the House was considering a private member's motion to increase the quantity of farming inputs for farmers under the Farmer Input Support Program, FISIP, moved by Mr. J.E. Banda, Member of Parliament for Petauke Central Constituency, and Mr. S. Kampiongo, Member of Parliament for Shuangandu Constituency, was on the floor. Honorable Jijing Kombo, MP, Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, raised a point of order. The point of order was based on Standing Order 84-1 of the National Assembly of Zambia, Standing Orders 2021, which prescribes the rules on admissibility of motions. Honorable members, in his point of order, Mr. Jijing Kombo, MP, explained that the motion that was on the floor was the same as the one that had been moved by the chairperson of the Committee on Agriculture, Lands and Natural Resources the previous week. He therefore inquired whether the House was in order to continue debating a matter which had already been resolved in the affirmative by the House. He also stated that the consideration of the motion was an indictment on the journals and tables office and the House. In his immediate response to the point of order, the Honorable Mr. Second Deputy Speaker reserved his ruling. I have since studied the matter and I will now render my ruling. Honorable members, Standing Order 131 of the National Assembly of Zambia Standing Orders 2021 is instructive on the procedure for raising a point of order and states as follows, and I quote, "Procedure on point of order. 131.1. A member who is of the opinion that the rules of procedure have been breached by another member may raise a point of order," end of quote. Honorable members, my predecessor, the Right Honorable Justice Dr. Patrick Matibin, State Counsel, had occasion to rule on a similar matter in a ruling of a point of order raised by Dr. M. Malama, the then Member of Parliament for Kachinchivia constituency, against the House for allowing the exhibition of political colors, National Assembly daily parliamentary debates of Tuesday, 27 February 2018. In that case, the Honorable Mr. Speaker stated as follows, and I quote, "A point of order cannot be raised against the House. This is because the purpose of a point of order is to draw the Speaker's attention to a breach of the rules of the House by a member," end of quote. Honorable members, based on the above authorities, a point of order cannot be raised against the House. Additionally, Standing Order 132.2 prohibits a member from raising a point of order against an officer and by extension against a department under the office of the clerk. This therefore implies that a member cannot raise concerns regarding the manner in which any officer or department under the office of the clerk performs administrative duties by way of a point of order. From the foregoing authorities, it is clear that a point of order cannot be raised against the House, but against a member. On that basis, the point of order raised by Honorable Gigi Nkombo MP is inadmissible. I thank you. We can make progress. Business statement, Her Honor the Vice President.
Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House that the House Business Committee met on Tuesday, 5th March 2024 to determine and schedule business of the House for the period 13th to 22nd March 2024. Accordingly, the committee resolved to lay before the House the following business for consideration. A. Announcements. The Honorable Madam Speaker may make announcements to the House on any day when it is necessary to do so. B. Rulings. The Honorable Madam Speaker may render rulings if there will be any. C. Ministerial statements. Honorable Ministers may render ministerial statements if there will be any. D. Bills. The bills listed hereunder will be considered. That is, 1. The Minerals Regulation Commission Bill, National Assembly Bill number 1 of 2024, second reading, will be considered on the 20th of March 2024. 2. The Animal Identification and Traceability Bill, National Assembly Bill number 2 of 2024, second reading, will also be taken on 20th March 2024. Number 3, the Investment, Trade and Business Development Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 3 of 2024, second reading, will also be taken on 20th March 2024. Number 4, the Constituency Development Fund Bill, National Assembly Bill number 21 of 2023 will be second reading. This will be taken on the 22nd of March 2024. E. Parliamentary Committee Reports. Name of the committee, Planning and Budgeting. The subject matter will be the report of the Planning and Budgeting Committee on the review of the third and fourth quarter budget performance for the year 2023 for selected ministries, provinces, and spending agencies. This will be considered on 14th March 2024. The other committee is Transport, Works and Supply on the subject matter, the Protocol Amendment Agreement for the establishment of the Intergovernmental Standing Agreement Committee on Shipping, ISC. This will be considered on 19th March 2024. The other committee is on Energy, Water Development and Tourism. The subject matter is the Framework Agreement on the establishment of the International Solar Alliance. This will also be considered on 19th March 2024. The other committee will be on National Economy, Trade, Labor Matters. The subject matter will be the Treaty for the Ratification of the Constitutive Instruments of the African Finance Cooperation. This will be considered on the 22nd March 2024. F, questions. The honorable ministers will respond to 32 questions for oral answer as set out hereunder. The details of the questions are contained in the notices of questions circulated to all honorable members earlier. The questions on standby to replace the questions that may not be placed on the order paper on the designated day for one reason or another are as set out hereunder. Questions on standby: 297 Home Affairs, 372 Health, 142 Information, 195 Technology, 299 Health, 304 Transport, 319 Technology, 356 Fisheries, 359 Home Affairs, 361 Infrastructure, 411 Education. G, Presidential Address. His Excellency the President, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, will on Friday, 15th March 2024, address the House on the progress made in the application of national values and principles. H, debate on the presidential speech. The debate on the presidential speech will commence on Tuesday, 19th March 2024. I, Her Honor the Vice President's question time. Every Friday, Her Honor the Vice President will respond to spontaneous questions asked by honorable members. Madam Speaker, on behalf of the House Business Committee and in accordance with Standing Order 189, Part 5 of the National Assembly of Zambia Standing Orders 2021, I have the pleasure to present the business for the next 2 weeks to this august House. I thank you, Madam.
Thank you very much. Questions for oral answer under Standing Order 74. The Honorable Member for Kabwe Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question 285.
The Honorable Acting Minister of Justice.
Madam Speaker, the Honorable Member for Kabwe Central, Ms. Halwindi, asks the Minister of Justice whether the government has any plans to construct a Court of Appeal building in Kabwe District, and she says if so, when the plans will be implemented. In Part C, she says what the estimated cost of the project is, and D, if there are no such plans, why? In response, Madam Speaker, I wish to inform the House that the government reiterates its commitment to continue to support the construction of court infrastructure countrywide. On that premise, the plans to construct a Court of Appeal building in Kabwe district is one of the projects the judiciary has in its long-term expenditure framework infrastructure development plan, a budget policy paper for the 2024 to 2026 period. In therefore B, the plans to construct a Court of Appeal building in Kabwe will commence once funds are made available from the Treasury for the construction works. Currently, the judiciary has, in the 2024 budget, made a provision for the completion of all outstanding and stored capital projects countrywide in the sum of 55,675,306 kwacha, which are ongoing. However, this amount is not adequate to cover the construction cost of the Court of Appeal building. C, the preliminary cost estimate of the project with associated facilities is in the sum of 139,792,000 kwacha. D, the construction of the Court of Appeal building in Kabwe district, as indicated above, is part of the judiciary's long-term plans. Thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary questions? The Honorable Member for Kabwe Central, do you have any?
Madam Speaker, it's just to thank the government for the plans they have to construct a Court of Appeal, because indeed it's going to cater for all the provinces that are on the northern side, Muchinga, Wapula, instead of people coming all the way to Lusaka to have their cases heard. So just to say thank you so much, and we are in a hurry to make sure that infrastructure development is in Kabwe, so that Kabwe is declared as a city. Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was a comment, and since the Honorable Member for Kabwe Central who asked the question is satisfied, we can make progress. Next question, the Honorable Member for Nalolo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question 286.
The Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning.
I thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honourable Member for Nalolo has raised the following questions. A, whether the refusal of the official bondholders to restructure Zambia's debt will not adversely affect the economy, and B, how this development will affect funding for the 2024 national budget, as well as the country's credit rating. Our response is as follows. On A, I wish to mention that the official bondholders have not refused to restructure Zambia's debt. So I repeat, they have not refused to restructure Zambia's debt. I also must make mention that Zambia is still undergoing discussions with bondholders on what could be the best outcome under non-disclosure agreement. In this regard, we are optimistic that we will arrive at a favorable agreement outcome soon. B, this question is not applicable because official bondholders have not refused to restructure Zambia's debt. Madam Speaker, I must add that regarding financing for the 2024 national budget, government prepared the 2024 national borrowing plan, which was tabled before the House and approved. In this regard, the financing of the 2024 national budget will be in line with the approved 2024 national borrowing plan. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Supplementary questions, the Honorable Member for Nalolo.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you for your response, Honorable Minister of Finance. I am aware that we have official creditors and we have private bondholders. You had reached debt restructuring of $6.3 billion with the official creditors, and however, the private bondholders and the official creditors did not reach consensus in terms of debt restructuring comparability. What is the status on both private bondholder debt in terms of the official creditors accepting the terms of which mostly the private bondholders are Western private individuals, and the official creditors are China and France? I submit, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I want to thank the Honorable for that question. Madam Speaker, just to give you a bit of background, the Honorable is correct that there are two categories of creditors or institutions owed by Zambia. There are the official creditors, which is government to government. There are also private creditors who are non-government. The private creditors come also in different categories, of which the bondholders is only one among the categories of the private creditors. Now, in providing Zambia with debt restructuring, an agreement that was reached, or an understanding that was arrived at among all the creditors, is that there must be comparable burden sharing when providing debt restructuring. This is so because debt restructuring is a burden in the sense that what I owed being structured, me who lend the money, or be inconvenienced, sometimes even lose money. So the question then is, among the different categories of the creditors, should some of them walk away feeling that they made more effort to restructure the debt compared to others, meaning therefore that those who made more effort, they lost out. Those who made less effort, they gained, obviously at the expense of those who made the biggest effort. So this is something that needed to be discussed and agreed upon. And one of the understandings was that there must be, as you said, comparable treatment, which means that the burden sharing must be comparable. Under that understanding, the first time when the bondholders, as part of the private creditors, made a proposal, the other stakeholders, meaning the official creditors, said, we are not satisfied because as official creditors, we are making more effort compared to you, the private creditors. And also, this proposal does not really help Zambia to get out of the debt problem as much as we, the officials, are putting on the table. So can you go and revise? So that was the first attempt. Second attempt, when it was presented, some of the official creditors said, yes, we are now satisfied. Others had a different view. So because of that, again, the thing is, go and make another attempt. So the discussions where they are now is how the private creditors can further, if possible, make adjustment to the proposal so that they satisfy that requirement that the burden sharing is comparable. So this is where we are, Honorable Member, how to revise and come to something that all the parties will agree to. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kamfinso.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister of Finance, in your response to the question raised by the MP for Nalolo, you've indicated that there's no refusal at this stage and probably that negotiations have continued. Minister, I wanted to find out, debt restructuring implies that you are deferring obligations under new terms, obligations which we obviously need to honor as a country. And now there are these new terms that have to be agreed upon. I wanted to find out, these two different categories of debtors that we have, since 2020 we've not been paying debt because there have been these negotiations that have been ongoing. And obviously, if we have not been paying debt, which category has not been receiving its payments from the Zambian government? So that we're able to understand exactly which group have we been paying and which group haven't we been paying. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning.
I thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank the Honorable for that question. When debt defaulting happened in 2020, the government then, the PF government then said, we are not able to service Zambia's debt. Because if we continue to service Zambia's debt, it will only mean that some of the basics that we supply or provide to our people, we will fail to provide those services. So we are suspending debt service. With one exception. The exception was to multilateral development institutions, which include the African Development Bank, it includes the World Bank, it includes the IMF, and a few others. The reason being that the kind of money they were lending to Zambia was already very concessional. In certain cases, interest rate is 0 or 0.5%, as opposed, for example, to the interest on the Eurobonds, which in certain cases was 8%, more than 10%. The money that was due to these development institutions was very cheap. But of course, suspending debt service does not make you to be normal in the world of finance. Because at one time or another, you need financing. So you have to regularize or normalize your relationship with financial partners. This is why now it becomes necessary for us to ask the question, how do we regularize, how do we normalize this relationship? We can only normalize those relationships by going to the creditors, talking to them, agreeing on how we can restructure the debt, meaning that after restructuring, we'll resume payments to everybody as a way of normalizing the relationship, but paying in a manner that, as you have suggested, one way is to lengthen the period, certain cases to cut what is due. Because when you do that, one, you have normalized your relationship with creditors, so you are slowly being integrated back in the financial world. But secondly, you are doing so at a pace which you can afford. So, that's how the issue of debt restructuring, getting to debt restructuring started. Now, from the time when the debt restructuring started, the payments to the development financial institutions, those that provide concessional aid, that has continued. The servicing of debt to other official creditors, outside those which are concessional, that has remained suspended until when we agree, and then when we agree, debt servicing at a sustainable level resumes. And of course, also to the private creditors, that remains suspended until when we agree to resume the debt servicing, because we've agreed on how to restructure the debt so that, number one, we normalize our relationship with creditors. Number two, we pay at a rate that is sustainable. So that is the answer. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Nkana.
Honorable Minister of Finance.
There is an indication for a point of order. What's the point of order, Honorable Member for Lunte?
Madam Speaker, thank you so much. I rise on this point of order on the Honorable Minister of Finance. Madam Speaker, the Honorable Christopher Kangombe, the MP for Kamfinsa, asked the Honorable Minister what I consider a very fair question. And as the Minister was responding, I know that it's attractive for the Honorable Minister to continuously smear the past government. Madam Speaker, the Minister makes one example of those loans which was suspended, or among those which were suspended, and he says, for example, the Euro bond, which was at 8%. Madam Speaker, the Minister knows.
What's the point of order, Honorable Member? We want to finish early today. I'm sure you have trips to undertake.
Yes, Madam Speaker, I will be heading to Lund. Madam Speaker, the Minister knows that the Euro bond was not due in 2020. Therefore, there was no way government, even if it was UPND, if they were in power, there was no way they could have serviced it. Is he in
What's
order?
the point of order, Honorable
order,
Member? It's not to debate or to counter what the Honorable Minister said. What's your point of order?
Is the Honorable Minister of Finance in order to indicate that the Euro bond was part of those which government suspended, when he knows very well that there was no way it could be serviced because it was not yet due? I seek your serious ruling, Madam Speaker.
I think that point of order does not arise because the Honorable Minister was answering a question, and according to the information that he has. Now, Honorable Member for Lunte, you want to counter that answer. I don't know where you get your answer from, because right now the person who is responsible for finance and national planning is the minister that was answering the question. So that point of order is not admitted. Can we make progress? The Honorable Member for Nkana.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, the former Zanama President is making too much noise, Madam Speaker.
Order, honorable members, please, let's not speak while other members are asking questions.
Honorable Minister of Finance, it is very clear even from your responses that debt negotiations and debt restructuring, this process would not take away this challenge of the debt. We still continue to deal with the challenge or the problems of this debt mountain we have. Is there any deliberate plans or interventions that your government has put in place to ensure that we pay this debt, even at that time when this obligation will fall due? Or maybe it's the intention that you just pass on this obligation to the governments that will come after you are gone. Is there any deliberate plans to pay this debt? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Sorry, Madam Speaker. If you permit me, I will give a bonus answer to the point of order that was raised, so as to clarify. Madam Speaker, the Honourable Member
The Honourable Minister, for the sake of progress, so that we don't politicize the whole process, maybe you could refrain from responding to the Honourable Member for Lunte. Just address the question as presented by the Honourable Member for Nkana.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Debt restructuring, Honourable Member for Nkana, it is real and it works. And recall that for Zambia, this is not the first time that debt restructuring is taking place. There was the HIPIC debt restructuring, and it solved our debt problem then. So debt restructuring works. We also know that there are many other countries that have undertaken debt restructuring, and it works. And this debt restructuring is going to work. Now, the issue is this. Debt restructuring is going to work partly because when you restructure the debt, there will be some which will be cut off, reduce it. There will be some which will be paid over a longer period of time. So instead of paying, for example, for us, we're supposed to be paying $750 million per year before debt restructuring. After debt restructuring, it reduces from a demand of $750 million per year to only $75 million per year. So debt restructuring works.
How much, Minister? Tell us again.
But beyond that, this is why you hear this government making all the efforts to encourage industry to increase. When we say we want to increase copper production to 3 million tons instead of 800,000 tons, this is a plan to make sure that by the time the new debts, some of the debts that we're acquiring now, by the time they kick in, the economic base of the country will have a higher capacity to service the debt. So when you hear us making all these efforts to increase production, when you hear us saying that we are excited to hear cobalt making the largest ever discovery of copper, when you hear us talking about First Quantum expanding production, when you hear us talking about Mopani resuming consumption, production, this is all part of the same thing, so that apart from reducing your debt, you're also increasing your income to be able to service the debt. So, Madam Speaker, debt restructuring is real, and it is going to work. I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Members. As we ask questions, let's pay attention to what the question was. The question was whether the refusal by the bondholders to restructure Zambia's debt will not adversely affect the economy. The Minister, according to what I've heard, said that they have not refused. Discussions are ongoing. They're in the process of signing the non-disclosure agreements. B, how this development will affect funding for 2024 national budget, as well as the country's credit ratings. The minister, from what I've heard, said they have not refused, and the budget will be funded according to as approved by this Honorable House in the 2024 budget. So if you are going to ask any supplementary questions, please, let's relate it to this. Let's not open a Pandora's box to ask about the whole economy. So as guided, the Honorable Member for Lukasha.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to ask a follow-up question to the Minister of Finance. Honourable Minister, it is worrisome that it's taking quite long for the bondholders to reach agreement with government to restructure their portion of the debt. I just want to find out what is causing this delay to reach agreement, because obviously it's impacting on the debt situation of the country. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much. The Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning.
Thank you, Madam, and thank you, Honourable Member for Lukasha. These are complicated negotiations. These are complicated negotiations. They take time. And I also want to perhaps inform the House, Madam Speaker, that among the countries that were found to be debt unsustainable around 2020, there were several countries. Zambia is at the front now in terms of getting closer to resolution than any other country. There were countries that were ahead of us in terms of attempting to solve their problems. We've come from behind, we've made more progress, and in all likelihood, we'll be able to restructure our debt before those who started before us are able to do so. So it is complicated, but we've made good progress. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we can make progress. Next question, the Honorable Member for Luvasenshi.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. The people of Luvansesha are asking question 287. Thank you.
Her Honor, the Vice President.
Madam Speaker, in response to the question raised by Honorable Chewe, Member of Parliament for Luvansenshi, who wants to know how many employees were there in the civil service as of December 2022. That is part A. Part B, what the number of nurses and doctors segregated by gender was as of December 2023. And C, as of the date at A, which sector had the highest number of employees, and that is part 1 and part 2, the least number of employees. I wish to inform this august House that A, as of December 2022, there were a total number of 278,938 civil servants in the public service. B, Madam Speaker, the number of nurses and doctors segregated by gender from December 2021 to December 2023 were as follows. 1, in 2021, there were a total number of 1,958 doctors in the public service, out of which 720 were female and 1,238 were males. 2, in 2022, there were a total number of 2,443 doctors in the public service, out of which 966 were female and 1,477 male. 3, in 2023, there were a total number of 2,738 doctors in the public service, out of which 1,114 were female and 1,624 were male. Part 4, in 2021, there were a total number of 21,376 nurses in the public service, out of which 16,846 were female and 4,530 male. 5. In 2022, there were a total number of 26,114 nurses in the public service, out of which 20,363 were female and 5,751 male. In 2023, Part 6, there were a total number of 28,367 nurses in the public service, out of which 22,176 were female and 6,191 male. Madam Speaker, in Part C, the institution which had the highest number of employees as at December 2022 was education sector. Head count standing at 141,645 employees. Part 2, the least number of employees as at December 2022 was judicial sector. Head count standing at 5,214 employees. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you very much. Supplementary questions. The Honourable Member for Lubanseshi.
Thank you so much, Vice President, through the Speaker. Indeed, looking at the statistics that you have given, Your Honor, it's really showing that women in Zambia, they still remain behind in terms of accessing quality education, especially on the field of medicine. Now, I would like to find out what measures are you putting in place to ensure that every time when government is recruiting doctors, they give maybe first priority to the women so that they can also able to compete with the men. I submit.
Honour the Vice President.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I would like to thank the Honourable Member for taking note that the number of female doctors in particular is less compared to the number of male doctors. But as you go down, Honourable, you will see that it is the same. It seems like women, the women are more in nursing. The difference is quite big, 22,000 female and 6,000 male. It is important. Currently, I don't think we have any affirmative action in the recruitment of medical personnel. Maybe this House could think of how we could encourage more women to also join the medical field in terms of medicine, becoming doctors. For now, there is nothing like that. They come through like everybody else. Just like we come through here, Madam, through first past the post. I think Zambians should start taking note, Madam, of the importance of having women in every field of human endeavor. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for U.S. Lubanseshi, you are okay?
Thank you for your kindness, Madam Speaker, for another opportunity to pose a follow-up question. Your Honor, the Vice President, through Madam Speaker, the people of Lubanseshi constituency are anxiously to try and find out from your office if there are measures that the government is putting in place, apart from what you have demonstrated, to equip Luwingu District Hospital with the doctors. Looking at the statistics that you have given, to this honorable house. I'm convinced that there is a possibility. Now, are you able to consider Luwingu district to have at least more doctors? I submit.
Now that is more specific. I don't know if our honor the Vice President has the answer. I think that question is too specific. Your question was very general. It didn't mention anything. So the figures have been given. I don't know what else. Maybe you can put in another question, or you can approach the Minister of Health to make that request. Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Vice President, you've reported to the August House that the numbers in terms of gender, there appears to be no fair, or should I say, an equitable manner of recruitment. We basically recruit those who apply, we look at their skills, and then they are placed in various health facilities. Is it the intention of government moving forward to reconsider this recruitment policy to begin deliberately getting numbers that have been left out in terms of the gender disparity? Madam Speaker, that is my follow-up question. Thank you.
Her Honor, the Vice President.
Thank you, Madam. It is indeed, this month is for women, and I want to appreciate, Madam Speaker, how the members are coming out very strongly and realizing that we need women in this field. We need women. They are the mothers, they are the caregivers. I can't really say that, but it's good to start from here. I'm sure this House is taking note of the people's concern, but I can't say standing here that we have such a proposal on the table. Maybe the Minister may know better, but in my office, I cannot say we have started working on that. It's a good thought. It starts from here. This is the people's house. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chilubi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Vice President in our response indicated that the lowest number of government workers is in the judiciary, if I got that right. And given that scenario, this, I think, has affected the shortage of especially class 1, class 2, and class 3 of magistrates, especially in the rural areas. Is government planning to see how they can scale up so that the justice system can be held properly? I submit, Madam Speaker.
Her Honor, the Vice President.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I thank the Honourable Member for taking note of that. I think it is important to know that even though, for example, in education, which is said to have 141,000 plus, I can read it here, 141 in education, 645 employees, it is still falls far below the establishment. So it really shows that there is need in judiciary, but so there is need everywhere. Maybe if we were to calculate, if we knew the establishment and then we can use the percentage, then we can say. But these are figures. It doesn't mean that in health we have enough. I'm sure, Honorable, you will see that this is just a figure. It is how many, which had the least number. But the least number doesn't mean more needy. It is just numbers. There is need in health, a big need. There is big in health, in agriculture. Where are the extension officers? We need everywhere. So it is a responsibility upon all of us that indeed for the civil service to operate effectively, we need to meet the establishment. But we are working within what is available, and you have seen the recruitment going on. I do understand, but this is where we are, Madam.
Thank you. Honorable members who come late are expected to walk quietly to their seats and take their seats without interrupting the other members who came early. The next question, the Honorable Member for Kabwata.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 288.
The Honorable Minister of Acting Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Honorable Taengwa, Member of Parliament for Kawata, asked the Minister of Infrastructure and Housing and Urban Development when the construction of the National House of Prayer along Bema Road in Kawata Parliamentary Constituency will be completed, and in B, what the cost of the project is, and in C, how much money has been spent on the project as of February 2023. Madam Speaker, our responses are as follows. A, the completion date for the construction of the National House of Prayer along Bema Road in Kawata Parliamentary Constituency is unknown, as the project source of funds is by well-wishers through donations. B, Madam Speaker, as of April 2019, the cost of the project was estimated at 365 million Zambia kwacha. And C, Madam Speaker, the project is financed by donations from well-wishers. As of February 2023, the amount spent on the project was approximately 54,750,000 kwacha. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Kawata.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, I just wanted to find out whether there has been any engagement together with church mother bodies so that you can come up with a roadmap on how you can complete that infrastructure that has been idle for years. Thank you.
The Honorable Acting Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Madam Speaker, would the Honorable Member repeat the question? I'm sorry.
Honorable Member for Kabata.
Okay. I was saying I wanted to find out whether there has ever been any engagement between the church mother bodies and the Office of the Vice President, or the Minister rather, which is actually in charge of the construction, to see how best you can come up with a roadmap on the completion of this project.
The Honorable Acting Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Madam Speaker, I would need to find out a little bit more, because the role of the government was to construct the structure through the Zambia Army and to do the design of the structure through the Ministry of Infrastructure. So in as far as financing is concerned, and if there have been engagements, I would need to find out. I wouldn't have that information. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kabata.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, I think the reason why we are asking these questions, because you see, Zambia is a Christian nation, and the declaration actually meant that a nation needed to set up an altar so that the Christians can have a place where they can easily congregate and worship from. However, my other substantive question is, I wanted to find out now that government has actually shown commitment to finish or construct the same infrastructure through the donations that well-wishers will make. Is it possible that you can set up or formulate a board that can manage the affairs of the construction of this infrastructure that has been idle for many years?
The Honorable Acting Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Madam Speaker, the suggestion by the Honorable Member that maybe government should consider setting up a board is welcome. However, I would like to make it very clear in my statement, I did not in any way indicate that the government is committing to completing this structure. I think I was very clear. The structure is being constructed by funds from well-wishers. What we can look at is maybe to consult the church mother bodies who are responsible for mobilizing the resources about the future of the investment. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chamasov.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 289.
We are still on supplementary questions. So you were not with us. Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Speaker. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I first of all want to sympathize with the Acting Minister of Infrastructure that obviously the ministry deals with public expenditure on public infrastructure. So this question might be very difficult to commit in terms of what needs to be done. But nonetheless, Minister of Infrastructure, this being a project funded through donations, the laws of Zambia allow for donations to be made. I think the Public Finance Management Act provides for details on how public funds can be raised through donations. I was expecting that maybe you could indicate, and that is why maybe the MP was asking, the model which will cover such a project. Is there a model being developed? Because the Public Finance Management Act provides for such a project to be handled by government on behalf of a specific grouping. Can you make a comment on that particular issue? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Acting Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Madam Speaker, I thank the Honorable Member for that submission. In fact, if you read very critically to what the Honorable Member has asked, he has actually answered. The government ministry looks at government expenditure on government infrastructure. Anything outside that, the government can merely facilitate, in this case, the construction which is being done by Zambia Army. So the point which you have raised resonates with what the Honorable Member for Kawata said, to say, can there be a way of putting together the church mother bodies to see the way forward? But as at now, it's extremely clear. The construction is through donations, and once the donations are made available, given to the Army, and the Army will construct. So far, it's at 15%. It would be nice if more resources can be channeled by the public so that the construction of this infrastructure is completed. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. We still want to... Honorable Member for Momba.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. Honorable Minister, I just want to find out, given the explanations or responses you have given, as to who the actual owner of that piece of land is. Is it owned by the government or by the church mother bodies? Who is the owner of that piece of land? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Acting Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Madam Speaker, that structure is being funded and to be used by the church mother bodies. One can only assume that the government could have leased out the land to the church mother bodies. For all I can remember, that land should have belonged to green economy for forestry. So I want to believe that that is the position, but I can investigate and let you know. Thank you.
I think we can make progress. We need to... Honorable members still want to ask about this. It's very clear. Honorable Member for Lund, is it Nakonde? You have a burning question.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. Madam Speaker, the day of prayer and fasting, which is on 18th October, has been described as a useless day of prayers by...
The Honorable Member for Nakonde, you know why I wanted to make progress? I didn't ask the supplementary questions. Don't bring in extraneous issues about whether the day of prayer is good or bad or what.
Madam Speaker,
please.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. I wanted to build a question because this is what...
Build a question in a positive manner, not in a negative manner. Ask a question on this.
The UPND administration.
First, let me ask,
Has
let me guide. Let me guide. The question that is here is that when the construction of the National House of Prayer in Lusaka Central Perimeter will be completed. And the answer is that this date is unknown because this project is funded through donations, through well-wishers. So what more do we need to ask? Let's just make progress. Next question, the Honorable Member for Chama North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 289.
Honorable Member for Chama South. This question is being asked by the Honorable Member for Chama North. Have you swapped places? Because in accordance with Standing Order 78-2, there was supposed to be written authorization, prior written authorization from the Honorable Member for Chama North to yourself to ask the question. Since this standing order was not complied with, the question accordingly lapses. We can make progress. Honorable Member for Chilubi, what is the issue now? You want to become the presiding officer, or what is the issue? Let's control our emotions. We are talking about a church, a house of prayer. Please, let's not be emotional about prayers. Next question, the Honorable Member for Kapoche.
Is absent without leave.
Since the Honorable Member for Kapoche is not in the House, the question accordingly lapses. Next question, the Honorable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 291.
The Honorable Acting Minister of Fisheries and Livestock.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Honorable Miyutu asks the Minister of Fisheries and Livestock what measures the government is taking to control the contagious bovine pleural pneumonia, CBPP, disease in Western Province. Madam Speaker, our response is, the House might wish to note that the contagious bovine pleural pneumonia is a disease prevalent to the bovine species that include cattle, buffalo, bison, including antelopes. This disease has a very high mortality rate and can kill up to 100% of affected animals. In Zambia, Madam Speaker, the disease has been reported in Western, Central, Lusaka, Mchinga, Northwestern, and Northern provinces. Madam Speaker, there are several measures that are being instituted by the Ministry to control the CBPP in Western Province. These measures include, among the many, the following. 1. Farmers sensitization. This includes stakeholder engagement and sensitization on the disease and its prevention. 2. Restrictions of cattle movement from affected areas to other parts of the country. CBPP is a disease of close contact and is spread from an infected animal to a clean animal through contact. 3. Vaccinations of cattle against CBPP. The vaccination against CBPP is undertaken every 6 months. 4. Zonal branding of cattle for the purpose of identification. Cattle is branded according to residence status. Number 5, testing and removal of infected animals. This is aimed at curbing the spread of the disease to other animals. And 6, establishing of CBPP community task forces. This is aimed at involving the community in policing disease control activities such as illegal movements. Madam Speaker, as the honorable members of the House may be aware, the ministry is also in the process of re-establishing the cordon line. This is important to keep the disease out of the country, as the CBPP mostly comes from neighboring states and affects cattle population in western and northwestern province. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Supplementary questions? The Honourable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I've heard from the Honourable Minister that vaccination should be done every 6 months. What was the last date of vaccination? The Minister is also trying to. I'm just raising this question arising from your own answer. The period of 6 months, when will the next vaccination period be? And when will the last one? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honourable Acting Minister of Fisheries and Livestock.
Madam Speaker, we all know that the country has been suffering from this CBPP, and it is not more than 6 months ago that the Minister of Fisheries himself was actually involved going around vaccinating the animals. So as to the exact date when he will next vaccinate, I might not know the exact date, but I can assure you it should be very soon, Madam Speaker. I thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Kasenengwa.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity. To ask the Minister, the Acting Minister of Livestock, Madam Speaker, yes, he's right, the Minister for Livestock was going round, but he was only going to those areas which were affected. When are you going to do vaccinations, even to those areas that are not yet affected, so that we prevent the disease other than having to firefight every time we have a breakdown? When are we going to take preventive measures? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honourable Acting Minister of Fisheries and Livestock.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That is a very important question. We actually encourage farmers, people who keep animals, to visit our offices so that at a time they want to have the animals vaccinated, our officers are dotted everywhere in the country. Contact them so that they can come to the farm to vaccinate. Madam Speaker, this is a very, very important question, and I'm happy that the Honourable Member for Kasenengwa raised it. I keep animals, Madam Speaker, and I've gone and asked the veterinary officers to come and vaccinate them. I encourage others to do the same. I thank you.
The Honourable Member for Kanchivia.
Madam Speaker, I thank you. Honourable Minister, whilst we speak about control, other countries have been busy with eradication of CBPP. An example, Madam Speaker, is Botswana. 1996, Botswana eradicated CBPP with a stamping out approach to this particular disease. Are there plans by the ministry to eradicate, and not just to control, because clearly we are battling with CBPP over and over, and whether vaccinations are working, that is probably a debate for another day. But are there plans to eradicate CBPP and to learn from jurisdictions such as Botswana, which I want to believe has done exceptionally well in the livestock sector? Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Acting Minister of Fisheries and Livestock.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honourable Member is right that this disease can be eliminated, can be eradicated. One of the major ways in which you can eliminate this disease is through cordon line, because this disease is prevalent in neighboring countries, and the animals cross into Zambia and give us this problem. What happened is that a couple of years back, when the economy had gone so bad, the cordon line was actually forgotten. The country didn't manage it because it requires clearing the area and in certain cases actually putting a wire. If you look at Botswana, they have strictly enforced that. It's very difficult for animals from other countries to cross into Botswana. I am happy, Madam Speaker, that the issue of the cordon line is now being taken seriously, and through that we can try to actually also reach a level of eradication. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The issue of testing, why does it take almost indefinite when samples, blood samples are collected? It's almost indefinite, no results. What measure has the government taken to reverse the situation so that when samples are collected, farmers are provided with the results of the tests? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honourable Acting Minister of Fisheries and Livestock.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honourable Miyutu, for bringing that question. Madam Speaker, the biggest problem has been the insufficient laboratory facilities that the country is suffering from. I am, however, happy to indicate that the ministry is working so hard to re-establish centers of testing. The ministry is collaborating seriously with other countries, other cooperating partners, the World Bank, for example, ADB, and other countries that have said to come in to assist us in this disease. The problem is, for as long as it is there, and for as long as the attitude, Madam Speaker, sometimes it is test, and when you find that there is a problem, sometimes it is to eradicate. Certain communities sometimes will resist these issues, and I think it is important for the House, members of the House, to assist the ministry in that sphere. But to answer the question directly, it is being worked on. There is going to be investment in this sector so that we can have more facilities established in the country. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Lubansenshi.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Honourable Minister, I think the people of Zambia, they still have a huge challenge, especially on the compliance when it comes to eradication of these animal diseases. When you look at, for instance, in Amwara, Honourable Minister, you find that most of the farmers there, they take their animals to visit flood plains, and there are those people who do dipping of their animals and those who don't comply. And when it comes to the outbreak, you find that the government spends a lot of money on the medication. Now, your ministry, what measures have you put in place to ensure that there is total compliance? Because last time, people were saying they have been sensitized, but the people don't want to listen and comply. Now, as your ministry, what measures have you put in place to ensure that government doesn't spend money like it has been happening? I submit.
Thank you. The Honourable Acting Minister of Fisheries and Livestock.
Madam Speaker, I thank you, and I thank the Honourable Member for Wasenshi. I think the simple answer there, Honourable, is that there is enhanced extension service in this field. There are a lot of extension officers who are being helped with transport to move around, to talk to the farmers, because this is a disease which can be eradicated. This is a disease which can be eliminated. And we have very few animals in Zambia. We shouldn't suffer to control a disease with a population of animals of about 4 million. So we should be able to eradicate this with extension, enhanced extension, and as you say, more compliance. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honourable Member for Bwana Mkubwa.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, the Acting Minister for Livestock and Fisheries. I've been following your submission or your answering. Perhaps I just wanted to find out, because you've spoken about the cordon line and how Botswana, our neighbors, managed, and it has helped them to eradicate some of these outbreaks, and are able to export meat into the European market, which we are not, and Namibia has also somehow managed. Minister, I wanted to find out, because you're saying it's being looked at, the issue of the cordon line, what is a long-term plan to ensure that government can save some of these needed resources? Not every time there's an outbreak, we are reactive, we send vaccines, we vaccinate, we sit again. How is your ministry going to ensure that they eradicate that, and they work on the cordon line to ensure that our livestock can also be exported, as it were? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Acting Minister of Fisheries and Livestock.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Mambazi, for that question. As indicated, the issue of the cordon line was abandoned during the structural adjustment program. So it's quite a long time ago. It was totally abandoned. Why? Because, like I said, it's really just a line, and you have to put manpower along that line to ensure that there is a refractory basis to turn back the animals if the animals are coming. In certain cases of severity, I was avoiding to mention countries, but like if you, along the Angolan border, probably you just need a wire for the animals to keep away, because this CPBP is actually mostly coming from the country that I just mentioned. So it's a question of resources, and the ministry is doing everything it can to re-establish, to clear, and to put a wire on this cordon line, and to see if we can have as many personnel as possible to turn back the animals when they want to cross, to come and cross-infect our animals. So it's just a question of resource, and especially that you are chairperson of, the accounting group, it would be nice that you help us in this direction. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The last question, the Honorable Member for Solwezi East.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, we have seen other nations like Botswana taking full charge of the issue to do with CBP. They fully control that. Have you done any benchmarking to understand how they have managed that, the disease control, so that we are able to learn and implement permanent measures? Any plan to benchmark with Botswana? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Acting Minister of Fisheries and Livestock.
Madam Speaker, there is a lot of benchmarking that is being done to learn from other countries. I'll give an example. The issue of livestock thefts. We literally just benchmarked, looked at what our friends are doing, and brought it here, so that if you steal now, it's not bearable, you'll be put in prison. Maybe it can keep away castle rustlers. So it's the same with the disease. The ministry is working very hard to see if this disease can be controlled. And praise be given where it is due. You will notice that in a lot of places where you travel, there is some form of control, medical control, in terms of crossing from one district to another. There is serious control of movement of cattle. Cattle in certain areas can't go to other areas, but there is much more that can be done, Madam Speaker. I thank you.
Thank you. We make progress. Next question, the Honorable Member for Chimba Milonga.
Madam Speaker, question number 292.
The Honorable Minister of Green Economy and Environment.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as I answer this question, I'd like to permit me in a second to congratulate the new government Chief Whip, Deputy Chief Whip, Honorable Ngowani, and also congratulate the Deputy Whip through the leader of the opposition, Honorable Banda, and for his ascension to the vice presidency of the Patriotic Front. Madam Speaker, Honorable Musonda is asking the Minister 3 questions. One, whether government is aware that the water reticulation project at Lake Tanganyika, which was intended to provide piped water to Sumbu area in Chimbamilonga parliamentary constituency, has been changed to that of sinking boreholes. B, if so, why the project was changed from providing piped water to that of sinking boreholes. C, what the estimated cost of the initial project was, and D, what the cost of sinking boreholes is. Madam Speaker, government is aware that the water reticulation project at Lake Tanganyika, which was intended to provide piped water to Sumbu area of Chimbamilonga constituency, changed from construction of a water intake facility by the lake to sinking of commercial boreholes to provide piped water. The background is that in 2018, government through the Lake Tanganyika Development Project, with funding from the African Development Bank, set out to establish Sumbu water supply system in Sumbu, Sama district, the total cost of 1.4 million kwacha. The initial scope of works included the construction of a water intake facility from Lake Tanganyika, construction of a 3-kilometer main pipeline to the 80,000 liters elevated storage facility, which feeds the distribution pipe network to 15 communal water kiosks in some parts of the Sumbu community. However, due to funding limitations, the initial scope of work changed, and the option of sourcing water to supply to this community from the lake to groundwater to be accessed through boreholes. This change was approved by the Lake Tanganyika Development Project Steering Committee and was cleared by the African Development Bank, the financier. Following the change, 2 commercial boreholes were drilled and equipped with hybrid pumps and solar pumps. The installed 8-inch borehole has pumping capacity of 3.5 liters a second, while the 5-inch borehole has a pumping capacity of 1.5 liters per second, feeding, as I said already, in the 80,000 liters elevated storage tanks. B, the planned water intake facility needed a water purification system whose cost estimate was beyond the initial budget. Hence, the source of water was changed from the lake to commercial boreholes. Currently, the project is providing piped water from the boreholes to 15 commuter water kiosks in Sumbu. Madam Speaker, C, the initial cost was 981,000 kwacha, and there was a variation of 445,000 kwacha to expand the water distribution network, bringing the total cost to 1.4 million kwacha. Lastly, the cost of drilling 1-inch commercial borehole up to 80 meters was 99,300 kwacha, while the other 5-inch borehole up to 80 meters costed 9,500 kwacha. These values exclude the cost of associated works and materials such as supply, delivery, and fitting of casings. The total cost of sinking and equipping the 2 commercial boreholes with solar panels, hybrid and solar water pumps, and fencing was 428,150 kwacha. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Chimbamilonga.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Under the current arrangement of sinking boreholes, and as the Minister says, the 3 boreholes have been sunk, some areas are receiving water once in 3 days, while other areas have been left out of this project. Honorable Minister, what immediate measures are you going to take to ensure that there is consistent water supply and that the areas that have been left out are included in this project? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Green Economy and Environment.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much, Honorable Member of Parliament. Indeed, I'm not aware the situation is that dire. I think I need to check with my officials. I was made to understand that our people who were initially targeted for this project are receiving adequate water. That's the information I have. As to the areas which have been left out, I think it must be noted that this was a first phase of the project. The ministry is already working around to ensure that a second phase in most of these areas where these projects have come to an end or where we have completed the project scope, that the second phase starts as well. So funds allowing, and once we have these project proposals approved, because most of them will be financed from the climate funds. So I'm sure we'll be able to look at this issue when that time comes. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Shiwangandu.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. And with me now, just let me also acknowledge the appointment of the Mpongo MP as Deputy Whip, and encourage him as being a former Deputy Whip myself of government, encourage him to ensure that the work of the Speaker is made easier, because it's a responsibility to ensure that there is quorum all the time in this August House, and the welfare of members is taken care of, assisting the government whip. Madam Speaker, the Minister informed us that this project was funded to the tune of 1.5 billion. And the initial scope of works should have included the construction of an uptake facility from Lake Tanganyika itself, and ensure that the water supply to Nsama, which is a new district, was to cater for the growing district. May we know why the scope of works were changed when it was approved and funds secured, and what has happened to the balance of the money which was allocated to this project? I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Green Economy and Environment.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for that very, very important question. And I think maybe I'll take a few minutes to just explain to the Honorable Member, because this is very, very important, Madam Speaker. I think the new Dawn government has lamented time and again that contractors who were contracted in the PF government, as well as consultants, I think did a very bad job. There was a design, the scope kept changing. The truth of the matter is that in 2018, when the contractor was contracted to carry out this project, they found out that the scope was wrong. The solar pumps, which were designed to take water from the lake to the elevated tanks, were inadequate. The filtration tanks were not, the funds were not provided for adequately. So the option then was to change the scope. And the scope of from getting water from that lake to sinking commercial boreholes. And Madam Speaker, we agree with them that there was no way out, but the scope had to be changed. And this was changed in 2018 when Honorable Kampyongo was the Minister for Home Affairs. Yeah. Madam Speaker, there's...
Let's just, Honorable Member for Shiwangandu, your name was just mentioned.
Madam Speaker, as I was saying...
I don't think there's been a call for... you have not been put on your defense. So
Madam Speaker, actually I'm supporting Honorable Kampyongo. I'm saying we agree with what they did. Because initially, they made the mistake and then they corrected it. Again, further actually, Madam Speaker, it must be noted that the aim for either getting water from the lake or sinking boreholes was to cater for about 20,000 people. That aim has been achieved. The New Dawn government made sure that this project was delivered and delivered on time, the project which was started in the previous regime. So, Madam Speaker, we are on the same ground with Honorable Kampyongo. Sir, Honorable Kampyongo, we've delivered together. So there's no question about the funding, the extra funding being there. The total project cost, the revised project cost was also within the estimates. So I think we are very happy that this project has been executed and that our people are getting water from it. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Chimba Milonga.
Thank you again, Madam Speaker. There have been a lot of stakeholder meetings between the coordinators of this project, the provincial administration, and the community. But the community has not accepted the reasons that are being advanced for the variation in the project. Honorable Minister, are you willing to institute an audit so that the suspicions of fraudulent activities are put to rest? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Green Economy and Environment.
The call for an audit is very, very welcome. This project was done in 2018, and as a new Minister of Green Economy and Environment, I would be very, very interested in knowing further what would have happened. However, since we took over this project, we've made sure that the project is executed according to scope and within cost. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honorable Member for Lufubu, you are in Chimba Milonga. What's your question?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's one Zambia, one nation. Thank you. Honorable Minister, what you've done is good to reduce the cost. Now, there are officers who were involved in planning in the first plan, and those who did the second plan where you've reduced the cost. Are these officers from different ministries or the same people? And if they are, what made them go for a higher cost in the first place? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Green Economy and Environment.
Madam Speaker, obviously after this short period answering this question, I will invite the Member of Parliament to my office so that we go through these things. As I said already, no, I'll answer you, sir. As I said already, this project was done in 2018. Some of the costs, now that the members asked, some of the costs, again, I'll repeat, they were as a result of inadequate scope, bad design. This project actually, in 2018, started from the back towards the front. Instead of looking at abstraction of water as the first item in the construction, they started with laying of pipes. Those pipes were substandard and they were left in the ground for about 2 years before they installed those pumps. And that pump failed to pump water 1 kilometer to the elevated tanks. It was then that they decided that instead of installing pumps on the lake, they would drill commercial boreholes next to the elevated tanks. This change is working well. So if you look at the design as well as the contractor who was given in 2018, I want to repeat, in 2018, what has happened now is what should have happened before, because providing water for our people is a matter of life and death. These are mistakes which we don't want anyone to repeat. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Member for Kasanengo has withdrawn. I was actually going to say that since the Honorable Minister has invited the Honorable Member for Chimbamilonga to go and discuss this matter further, and that suggestion for an audit, so you can discuss and explore the possibilities. We make progress. Presentation of government bills. The Honorable Minister of Justice.
Madam Speaker, I beg to present a bill titled the Zambia Institute of Advanced Legal Education Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 4 of 2024. The object of the bill is to amend the Zambia Institute of Advanced Legal Education Act so as to revise the functions of the Council of the Zambia Institute of Advanced Legal Education.
Let the bill be read the first time.
The Zambia Institute of Advanced Legal Education Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 4 of 2024.
The bill stands referred to the Committee on Legal Affairs, Human Rights and Governance. The committee is required to submit its report on the bill to the House in due course. Honorable members who wish to make submissions on the bill are free to do so within the program of work of the committee. Next bill. The Honorable Acting Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to present a bill titled the Matrimonial Causes Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill 5 of 2024. The object of the bill is to amend the Matrimonial Causes Act 2007 so as to revise the grounds on which a marriage is considered to be void. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Let the bill be read the first time.
The Matrimonial Causes Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 5 of 2024.
The bill stands referred to the Committee on National Guidance and Gender Matters. The committee is required to submit its report on the bill to the House in due course. Honorable members who wish to make submissions on the bill are free to do so within the program of work of the committee. Next bill, the Honorable Minister of Lands and Natural Resources.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg to present a bill titled Lands Tribunal, Bill National Assembly number 6 of 2024. The object of the bill is to amend the Lands Tribunal Act 2010 so as to provide for A, the establishment of principal registry and regional registry, B, the appointment of an assistant registrar, and C, matters connected with or incidental to the foregoing. Thank you.
Thank you. Let the bill be read the first time.
The Lands Tribunal Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 6 of 2024.
The bill stands referred to the Committee on Agriculture, Lands and Natural Resources. The committee is required to submit its report on the bill to the House in due course. Honorable members who wish to make submissions on the bill are free to do so within the program of work of the committee. Next bill, the Honorable Minister of Education.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I beg to present a bill titled the Zambia Qualifications Authority Bill, National Assembly Bill 7 of 2024. The objects of the bill are to A, continue the existence of the Zambia Qualifications Authority and redefine its functions. B, provide for the development and implementation of the National Qualifications Framework. C, provide for registration of qualifications on the National Qualifications Framework. D, provide for the verification and evaluation of qualifications. E, constitute the board of the Zambia Qualifications Authority and redefine its functions. F, repeal and replace the Zambia Qualifications Authority Act 2011. And G, provide for matters connected with or incidental to the foregoing. Thank you.
Thank you. Let the bill be read the first time.
The Zambia Qualifications Authority Bill, National Assembly Bill number 7 of 2024.
The bill stands referred to the Committee on Education, Science and Technology. The committee is required to submit its report on the bill to the House in due course. Honorable members who wish to make submissions on the bill are free to do so within the program of work of the committee. Her Honor, the Vice President, adjournment.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the House do now adjourn.
The question is that the House do now adjourn. Any debate? Any objection? The question is agreed to. The House is now adjourned.
Live parliamentary proceedings, and business resume next week on Wednesday. Time now.
Yeah, before we leave, we look at what has been considered on the floor of the House, and business resumed at 14:30. Madam Speaker did make an announcement, and in her announcement, she did recognize the presence in the public gallery of another group of grade 7 pupils from Rhodes Park School in Lusaka District. And on behalf of the National Assembly of Zambia, Madam Speaker did warmly welcome the visitors to the National Assembly.
And Her Honor, the Vice President actually did inform the House that the House Business Committee met on Tuesday, 5th March 2024 to determine and schedule business of the House for the period 13th to 22nd March 2024. And we'll just run you through some of the business that is expected to be considered in the next coming week. The House is expected to consider a number of bills, and among them is the Minerals Regulation Commission Bill, National Assembly Bill number 1 of 2024, which is coming up at second reading stage, and it will be considered on the 20th of March 2024. The House is also expected to consider the Animal Identification Traceable Bill, National Assembly Bill number 2 of 2024, which is coming up at second reading stage, and it will be considered on the 20th of March 2024. The House will equally consider the Investment, Trade and Business Development Bill, National Assembly Bill number 3 of 2024, which will be considered on the 20th of March 2024. And lastly, the House will consider the Constituency Development Fund Bill, National Assembly Bill number 21 of 2023, coming up at second reading stage, and will be considered on the 22nd of March 2024. Her Honor, the Vice President also indicated that His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema will on Friday, the 15th of March, address the House on the progress made in the application of national values and principles.
Madam Speaker did make a ruling. In her ruling, she did talk about a point of order which was raised on Wednesday, 21st February 2024 by Honorable J.J. Kombo, MP, Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, on whether the House was in order to debate the motion to increase the quantity of farming inputs for farmers under the Farmer Input Support Program, moved by Mr. J.E. Banda, Member of Parliament for Petauke Central Constituency, when the matter had already been considered and agreed upon by the House in the current session. She did say that the point of order was based on Standing Order 84-1 of the National Assembly of Zambia Standing Orders 2021, which prescribes the rules on the admissibility of motions. And she did say that in his point of order, Honorable J.J. Kombo, MP, explained that the motion was that was on the floor of the House the one that had been moved by the chairperson of the Committee on Agriculture, Lands and Natural Resources the previous week. He therefore inquired whether the House was in order to continue debating a matter which had already been resolved in affirmative by the House.
And so, Madam Speaker did say that Standing Order 131 of the National Assembly of Zambia, Standing Orders 2021, is instructive on the procedure for raising a point of order and states as follows. 1311. A member who is of the opinion that the rules of procedure have been breached by another member may raise a point of order. And so Standing Order 132 prohibits a member from raising a point of order against an officer and by extension against a department under the office of the clerk. This therefore implies that a member cannot raise concerns regarding the manner in which any officer or department under the office of the clerk performs administrative duties by way of a point of order. And so the Speaker did say that it is clear that a point of order cannot be raised against the House but against a member. On that basis, the point of order raised by Honorable Eugene Kombo, Member of Parliament, is inadmissible.
And after that ruling that was made by Madam Speaker, the House proceeded to consider questions for oral answer under Standing Order 74. And the first question was question 285, which came from Ms. Halwindi Kabwe Central, Member of Parliament. And the question was directed to the Minister of Justice, and in this case it was Her Honour the Vice President who responded to this question. And the member wanted to find out whether the government has any plans to construct a Court of Appeal building in Kabwe District. And according to the Her Honour the Vice President's response, he did say that government reiterates its commitment to support court infrastructure in the country, and it has plans to construct a Court of Appeal building in Kabwe District. And if so, when the plans will be implemented. According to Her Honour's response, he did say that this will commence once funds are made available by the Treasury. And what the estimated cost of the project is, she did say that it is 139,792,000 kwacha. If there are no such plans, why? Did say that it's part of the judicial long-term plans. So that's the first question that appeared on today's order paper.
We must also mention that questions 289 and question 290 lapsed because at the time that these questions came up for consideration, the members of Parliament who were supposed to ask these questions were not present in the House. Mr. Tayengwa of Kawata did ask the Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development when the construction of the National House of Prayer in Lusaka, Central Parliamentary Constituency, will commence. And in response, the Minister did say that the construction is actually unknown. And the Member of Parliament for Kawata wanted to find out the cost of the project. And the Acting Minister of Infrastructure and Housing and Urban Development, Her Honour the Vice President, did say that the cost of the project is 365 million Zambian kwacha. And the last part of the question, Mr. Tayenga wanted to find out how much money had been spent on the project as of February 2023. And in response, the acting minister did say that the money that has been spent is 54,750,000 kwacha.
Question 286 came from Nalolo, Member of Parliament, Mr. Munyima, wanted to find out from the Minister of Finance and National Planning whether the refusal by the bondholders to restructure Zambia's debt will not adversely affect the economy. And according to the minister's response, did say that the official bondholders have not refused to restructure Zambia's debt. In B, wanted to find out how this development will affect funding for the 2024 national budget as well as the country's credit rating. They said that this question is not applicable because the bondholder have not refused, and the 2024 national borrowing plan and the budget was approved by Parliament, and this will not affect the 2024 national budget.
Mr. Miuto of Kalabo Central Constituency did ask the Minister of Fisheries and Livestock what measures the government is taking to control the contagious bovine pleural pneumonia disease in Western Province. The Minister did highlight quite a number of measures. Among them, farmer sensitization of the disease, restriction of cattle movement from one area to the other, vaccination of cattle, against CVPP and zone branding of Keto according to Keto identification.
So, Claudette, those are some of the questions that were tackled on the floor of the House today, the 7th day in the month of March 2023. And the House did proceed to consider bills, government bills, and the first one was presented by the Minister of Justice, the Zambia Institute of Advanced Legal Education Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 4 of 2024. And this bill seeks to amend the Zambia Institute of Advanced Legal Education Act. The bill read the first time and referred to the Committee on Human Rights and Governance, and other bills that were considered, Claudette
include the Matrimonial Causes Bill, National Assembly Bill number 5 of 2024, which seeks to amend the Matrimonial Causes Act 2007. This bill was read the first time and has been referred to the Committee on National Guidance and Gender Matters, and the committee is expected to submit its report to the House in due course.
The other bill is the Lands Tribunal Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 6 of 2024, and this one was presented by the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources. The bill read the first time and referred to the Committee on Agriculture, Lands and Natural Resources for scrutiny and expected to report to the House in due course. And it read the first time.
The last bill that was presented this afternoon was the Zambia Qualification Authority Bill, National Assembly Bill number 7 of 2024. The bill seeks to continue the existence of the Zambia Qualifications Authority and redefine its functions, among many others. And this bill was read the first time and has been referred to the Committee on Education, Science and Technology, and the committee is expected to submit its report to the House in due course. So that's the business that has been considered on the floor of the House.
It's Women's Month, and any plans for Women's Day tomorrow, being a woman?
I'm thinking of, marching as a way of exercising. I think I'm going to join my fellow women in marching and cook a special meal for my family.
Marching only on Women's Day. Wishing you all the best, and I'd like to wish you Women's Day and all the women across the country. This is where we end today's live parliamentary proceedings on behalf of Sign Language Interpreter, that's Jason Manda, and indeed not forgetting Claudette Jonga. My name is Posin Tendovi, wishing all the women across the globe a happy Women's Day and have a fantastic celebration. God bless and continue watching Parliament Television.
President Hakainde Hichilema will on Friday, 15th March 2024, address the nation on Parliament radio and television on the progress made in the application of national values and principles